How are you today?
Pretty good. Thanks for asking. What about you?
Just trying to kick my fiance out in time for today.
I see.
Wake up, get out. I have to set everything up. "Oh, okay. Get the dog out too. So,
Okay, cool.
the
So I
usual.
think your name should be pronounced as Kyra, Teacher Kyra. Am I
I
correct?
am not Kyra. I'm Kira, actually.
Kira. Sorry for that.
That's okay. It's a 50-50 shot, right?
Exactly. Let's dive into the questions and
All
just
right.
start off, right? Okay, Teacher Kira, speaking of motivation, how can we motivate language learners?
Wow. Well, as an educator, what we can do is celebrate what they're doing right. That's the most important. But remember now, there are two forms of motivation. We've got intrinsic and extrinsic. So, I can be the best extrinsic motivator that I can be and give all sorts of compliments, gifts, stickers, whatever. But if you're not motivated from within, then how much can I help? So I just want someone who's first has the motivation from within, and I can empower them by giving them that extrinsic motivation they need.
Hmm.
But
Fantastic.
yes,
Okay.
celebrate. Mhm.
You're celebrating, of course. You said you mentioned about giving stickers. Did I hear it correctly? You're giving stickers
Yeah.
to adults as well, or you just mentioned about the kids?
So actually, it really depends. Some adults like things to receive things, whether it's something small like coffee beans or something like that. But yes, even they enjoy choosing their own highlighters to highlight vocabulary words. Trust me. Back when I worked face to face.
Yeah, definitely correct. Of course. Okay, what is the difference between young learners and adults, generally speaking?
Everything.
Of course, for sure. Yeah,
Everything,
that is
generally
obvious.
speaking.
Uh-huh.
Yes, of course. Well, let's think about the biggest one here, in my opinion, and that's time, right?
What do you mean?
Kids, what do they do in school? They keep learning. What do we do at work? We're learning, definitely, but we're focused on accomplishing a certain task. We're not worried about, did I say this right? There's no one there to correct me? Whereas in school, they're doing this for 5 hours a day. They're practicing English for 5 hours a day.
Mm,
We as adults, how often do we get? We have to actively schedule it into our systems. I mean, into our daily lives. And that's much harder on adults. And
exactly.
then pronunciation. Kids have phonetics where they get to say P is, and they can sound out the words and they get to know the building blocks of each word. Whereas adults, it's only pronunciation and they just say, okay, take this phonetic symbol, put it in that word, and voila, you should know how to say it. Okay. So that would be another thing that's hard for adults and it's against adult learning. So um, they have it a lot harder as adults for sure. There are not enough materials for adults that are interesting and engaging. Whereas for kids, you can choose any character from any TV show, and I'm sure they have some type of lesson plan around that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, it says here, what are the probable problems of students while they are studying and learning?
This is really general.
No
Help me.
problem.
Can we specify the problem? Can we specify the situation in any way?
Um, for example, they are always complaining about the homework. For example, maybe the amount of homework that we are, providing them or sharing with them is a lot, maybe, or how can I say, let's say different platforms that we are using, let's say digital platforms that we are using, sometimes they are not effective enough. Maybe these are, these things can be sort of uh, complaint of students
Hmm.
while they are studying. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can provide some experience with this
Okay.
topic.
Um, then digital learning systems. Ooh.
For example, let's say, I mean,
Yeah. What could I say about digital learning systems? Well, I mean, right, you're losing that personal touch of a coach or an educator of some sort. And then, the educator is there to take all of that content or the standards that they're required to learn and to break it into a fun and interesting way for them to digest. And computers just have one arbitrary way, one systematic format. So perhaps that's what they're missing.
mhm. So you mean that the computers are not diverse enough, or
I would say they're just not catering to everyone's specific need or specific wants. It's one
one
size fits
dimensional, you
all.
mean?
Yeah. Whereas teachers, they can adjust for each person if need be.
I see. Of course, yeah, because we are dealing with human beings, not robots.
Hmm.
Definitely correct. Next question is, what sort of material would you recommend them to use? It is again very general, um, like books, apps, websites, any interesting platform or material would you recommend
And their
students
goal
as well
is
as
for
teachers?
English fluency, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Then everything, yes. I mean, yes. I mean, you need to hear you. So if we get one word, let's say, one new vocabulary word, if you want to be fluent, if you want to master that new word, you have to hear it in as many contexts as possible to get the full scope of the meaning and its nuances, etc. You have to hear the different pronunciations because hearing that word in American English or hearing that word even in California English is different than hearing that word in New York English or UK, Australian, etc. So, you know, apps are great, sure, depending on the type of app, but make sure that you're trying to pay attention to all of the skills.
Mhm.
So, listening, reading, writing, speaking, hit all of those bases
I
is
see.
my biggest.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're not recommending any specific app, for example, or website. Okay.
No,
Yeah,
take
sure.
it all. Yes.
Yeah,
Expose yourself to everything.
sure, sure. And okay, my favorite one, grammar or vocabulary.
Oh,
Which one is important, or let's say which one outweighs the other one, and why? Plus, how can learners improve their grammar and vocabulary?
okay. So, I mean, if you don't have one, you won't make sense. So if you had all this vocabulary and not a great grammar to support it, then yeah, you wouldn't make much sense. But it would sound okay, I guess, perhaps. And like, vice versa. If you had this amazing grammar and then you didn't know what words to put in it, this formula to make meaning, then yeah. So I couldn't choose. I can't choose. I'm a Libra. I don't like choosing.
Of
But
course. I see.
but yes, that would be my point is my belief though, however, is at different levels we have different needs.
Mhm.
So I feel like for beginners, I mean real beginners, just focus on vocabulary. That's the hardest part in the beginning, not the grammar. The grammar is usually simple. This is that, this is not that, usually. So just focus on getting that vocabulary so that you can really maximize the usage of those really basic expressions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, and how can they improve their, vocabulary, so to speak?
Vocabulary, there's a number of different ways, but one of my favorite things to tell people is make it personal. I mean, that's the best way to keep it forever in your long-term memory is we have to associate it with something else. So whether we can tie it to a personal memory or maybe we can tie it to our favorite TV show that we're watching and that character just really identifies with that word, who knows? But try and make it so that we have multiple associations. It'll be easier to retrieve that way. The least amount of associations, the less we're going to remember it.
I see. Very nice. Okay, very silly question, by the way, here. uh, how did you personally learn English as a native speaker?
Well, that's okay because, even native speakers have to learn their first language. We all have to. But I learned from my grandma actually. So my grandma, she's retired now, but she was an educator herself.
Really?
And while we watched TV, whenever there was a commercial break, that's when she would get her notebook and she would show me sentences and then I would read them.
Oh, I see. Very nice. Interesting. And where are you originally from?
California, born and raised,
I see.
true
Fantastic.
Californian.
Of course. And the question is it possible to learn multiple languages at the same time? Plus, would you recommend that?
I mean, it really depends. I mean, everyone has their own special gift, right? Some people are gifted with visual learning abilities, auditory learning abilities, but two languages at the same time requires a rare brain that can handle that. That's a lot of work at one
Have you
time.
tried that before?
I mean, in high school, I started French in middle school, so I was kind of learning English writing and French writing structures at the same time. I did it throughout high school as well. So it was a little confusing at some times because, right, with those two languages with similar writing systems, we don't use the same letters, but sometimes, most of the time, we do. And I always confuse the spelling of American in English and américain in French,
Hmm.
the A and the I. So even for me, I'm not perfect. So I just warn people. Perhaps if the languages that you decide to learn are from two different origins, where the alphabets don't look the same, there are no relations, it will be less easy to confuse them.
Exactly.
Would be my suggestion there. So if you said, for example, English and Japanese, different writing systems, different origins, different everything, it might be easier.
I
Might.
see. Yeah, sure, sure. Again, cliche question. How can learners improve their speaking abilities? I am fed up with this question. Yeah.
Me too.
Yes.
The vocabulary and the speaking, I get them every day. So many.
Uh-huh. Vocabulary.
Yeah, so yeah, I get vocabulary and speaking, I get those questions a lot. But for speaking, since we're on that question right now, the best way to improve it is to speak. You have to experience it. It's like riding a bike.
Mm,
The first time you say it, it's gonna fall out of your mouth just like you fall off that bike. It's gonna sound horrible. It's gonna be a crash, and that's okay. But if you get back up, you try it again, you're aware of yourself, right? You don't want to slip off the pedal like you did last time. So we're going to control and we're going to do it a little slowly. Okay, I can do it slowly. Do it faster. Can you do it smoother? Oh wait, now you're doing it automatically. So that's what I say about speaking is take it slow if it's too hard. American pronunciation is all connected. So we can just slowly do it and work our way faster. It's all about muscles anyways.
exactly. Fantastic. Very nice. Oh my God. Accent and pronunciation. I'm going to
Yes.
literally kill myself. American English or British English, which one is very important? What would you say as an American to this question?
It really depends on your goals. I have several people who approach me every day and they say, okay, I want to learn English. Well, sometimes my first question to them is not, okay, how much money can I take from you? No, the question is, okay, American or UK? Because I know that certain countries, they focus on teaching UK English, and that's fine. Then maybe it's not appropriate to learn American English if your job, they're testing you on your knowledge of UK English.
Hmm,
So, yeah, it really depends on your goals, where you're going to live, where you're currently living, and everything. Maybe you prefer a particular style. Maybe you love the sound of the American accent. Then study American English. That's okay. I don't think there's one winner at all. It's just a matter of preference and necessity.
Exactly. Okay, and what about the pronunciation? I mean, okay, we talked about American English versus British English, but what about the accent and pronunciation? Which one again outweighs the other one?
In within the American accents?
No, no, no. I mean, in general, generally speaking. I mean, which one,
Outweighs.
as a student, for example, me, let's say I'm a student, let's say,
Mhm.
I mean, should I focus on accent first, comes first, or
Oh.
pronunciation?
Got it, got it. So when you say accent, does that mean stress in a sentence? That type of accentuation or just
No, no, no. Accent,
accent?
you know, American accent or British accent, for example. For example.
What I tell everyone is choose a type of English, master it. And then if you want later, because at that point you've finished everything from that type of English, then move on to another one. Then you can explore the other accents because you
Nice.
finally are, capable enough
Mm,
at that level.
I see. And pronunciation?
Pronunciation, I think it's important. It's not the most vital thing, right? We can have accents and still be understood. So there's kind of there's some wiggle room there. If we ignore pronunciation, we're going to have a heavy accent and it will be hard to be understood. The goal here with any language is to be understood by as many people as possible. So, to some extent, we do need to focus on strengthening those mouth muscles for pronunciation.
Very nice. Cool. And okay, is it possible to learn English without going abroad?
Yeah, totally.
How?
Like I said before, we said all of those great learning materials. We have the internet. It's 2020. There's no excuse now. We can go over to the American side of the internet if we want to. We can watch their shows. We can read their blogs, their podcast, anything.
Yeah.
We just need the URL now.
Mm. Okay, cool. Yeah, totally correct. And how long will it take for a person to really learn every necessary element of language to speak it properly or, in a reasonable way? How long will it take?
And
Because students
you
keep
feel
asking
completely
this question.
comfortable with all of the basics and everything.
Yeah, let's say I would call it as, a normal tourist.
Normal tourist.
Yeah, a kind of tourist that can, communicate as a tourist again.
Oh,
How long will it take? What do you think?
I mean, it really depends on how much work you put into it, but assuming that this person is putting in a healthy amount of work into learning the language, anywhere between 3 to 6 months. Some people learn faster than others.
Hmm. Okay, at least, you mean.
Yes, yeah, I'd say if you want to just know, "Oh, where is this? How much is this?" These are very basic things. Lots of vocabulary involved there, but sentence structures are simple, so yeah, 3 to 6 months.
Hmm. Cool. And final question.
Yes.
Technology and education. What do you think about, the integration of technology into education? Do you think that it can be a, useful thing or it can be harmful?
You need to be strategic, right? With everything, with our lesson plans, with our scaffolds. Um, you need to be strategic. There is a balance because, right? I think that technology is great in helping us to find resources from everywhere because teachers aren't perfect. I don't have the perfect method to teach every single thing about the English language. So that's nice for teachers to gain inspiration. For students, it's to find content that they love that's connected to their hobbies. But right, there's a balance. Why? Because language is meant for sharing with people. So we don't want to overdo the tech side and lose our ability to handle the face to face.
Hmm.
There's
Okay.
still, yes,
Yes,
okay.
yes, go ahead, please. Yes.
No, there's just still a lot of cultural aspects involved with the language that I don't know if tech can provide.
Okay, do you personally use technology in your classrooms?
Yes.
For example, what or how?
All of the YouTube. everything, as we say on the internet. But yes, I love YouTube. I use YouTube regularly every day, sometimes 3 videos, 4 videos in 1 hour in a 1 hour session. So
Cool.
yes, I'm a huge fan of YouTube. I can it take it for an educator, it's low prep. But for a student, it's high value. And as an educator, I know how to manipulate it so that I can get the best of both worlds. I can get them speaking in past tense while enjoying themselves. Finally, because I'm getting them to speak about this particular video that they love or that they used to watch back when they studied here or something like that.
Mhm. Nice, very nice. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation, actually. And
Thank you for having me.
my
It's been a
pleasure. And
pleasure.
nice to
Oh,
meet you, by the way. I forgot to mention it.
yes. Nice
And
to yes.
likewise. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So let's say goodbye to our audience.
Oh, that was part of okay, then. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay.
No
Well,
problem.
thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and, yeah.
The
Um,
pleasure is mine. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation, actually.
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself.
Okay, you too.
Bye bye.
Bye.